Hello, and welcome to our first look webinar for Nutshell Marketing. I'm Kristen Gray-Sykes, the Senior Customer Success Manager here at Nutshell. And with me is Chris Cain, Nutshell's VP of Product Development. Hey Chris, what day is it today?
Hey Kristen, how's it going? Today is Ash Wednesday. It also happens to be National Cabbage Day, I believe.
Okay, well besides that.
Oh, it's Nutshell Marketing Launch Day.
There it is. We're here today to officially unveil a product that our team has been working very hard on for the better part of a year. Nutshell Marketing is an email marketing automation tool that fully integrates with the Nutshell sales platform. It allows our customers to design beautiful marketing emails, send them to thousands of contacts at a time, and instantly see who's opening them. Chris, before you take us through a demo, I was wondering if you could give us some insight on why your team decided to devote their time and energy to building this product.
Absolutely. So Nutshell spent a decade as a CRM and sales automation tool, and one of the biggest challenges that we've faced in our own business was a lack of alignment between our sales software and the email marketing tools that we've tried to integrate with. Like a lot of people watching this, we've used HubSpot in the past for email marketing, we've tried out Constant Contact, we've used MailChimp. No matter how good these tools are, what they do, when you have your sales and your marketing teams working out of separate databases, it's going to create confusion and get in the way of collaboration. For example, our sales team didn't have full visibility into which marketing messages were going out or which messages were being engaged with the most. And our marketing team couldn't create audiences based on customer segments because that information was only up to date in the CRM.
Yeah, speaking as the primary point of contact for many of our own customers, I can tell you that this is a point of friction for nearly all B2B organizations, not just our own. Data getting out of sync, important customer contacts getting lost. I've heard from countless Nutshell customers who struggled with the same challenges.
Exactly. What we learned building this product and then using it ourselves over the past few months is that having your CRM and your email marketing software under the same roof, powered by that same customer data, solves all of these challenges. It really is the magic bullet for uniting sellers and marketers and helping them work together more effectively. We hope this translates to success for our customers too.
Absolutely. We always advocate for sales and marketing collaboration here at Nutshell, and being able to work off of consistent, unified data is what actually makes that possible. Plus, it's just less to juggle. Software integrations are really valuable, but I think the dream is, what if you didn't have to manage multiple tools to nurture a customer through your pipeline?
Yeah, and that's been one of the guiding principles at Nutshell for as long as I've been here. We want users to be able to do as many important things as possible out of one tool. Not having to switch between different software with different UIs saves a ton of time and a lot of frustration.
Well, this is all very exciting. A couple of quick notes before we dive into the demo. First, if you have any questions during this webinar, please post them in the chat window and we'll answer as many as we can at the end. And second, we will be covering pricing at the end, so stay tuned for that. The short version is that Nutshell Marketing has its own pricing structure that is billed monthly in addition to your CRM subscription. Without further ado, take it away, Chris. Let's see how Nutshell Marketing works.
Thank you so much, Kristen. I am going to share my screen and we can get started. All right, let me make sure this is working. Looks like it is. All right, so we're looking at the Nutshell you know and love. For the purposes of this demo, this is essentially a new trial. There's a couple things that I've set up ahead of time, but we're just looking at the Nutshell dashboard. But today, we want to focus on this new icon down here, the megaphone, the outreach section. This is live for all customers as of today, and let's dive right in. So when you get started, we're going to onboard you to a few concepts, talk a little bit about what Nutshell Marketing is. We have different types of outreach. These might be one-time broadcasts. These are newsletters. These are different drip sequences that you can send to your customers. And of course, all that is going to audiences. So audiences are your segmented list of people that you're sending this outreach to. You put it all together and you get Nutshell Marketing. So let's get started. So right away, I'm dropped on the summary page. This is sort of like the dashboard for Nutshell Marketing. We have a quick start checklist for everyone to get started. Of course, I've done most of this already just to get this demo going. We got one more bullet point that we're going to cover today and actually complete. Other things to call out, this is sort of the homepage of all the outreach that's happening. So we have different recently updated templates. Once I actually start to send different outreach, I can get an overview of what I've sent recently, see some statistics on those, some engagement, that kind of thing. But right now, I want to quickly jump in and sort of talk about, how quickly you can get started making these templates. So Nutshell's provided everyone with 6 built-in templates to get started for just really quick outreach, depending on the type of communication you want to do. So maybe that's a webinar announcement, maybe it's some product news, a sales promotion. Today, actually, we're going to pick our big announcement template, and let's call this Nutshell Marketing Launch. That's what's going on today. All right. So as this loads, right away we're dropped into, this is sort of the email editor. Think of it as the Nutshell email editor you know and love, but totally souped up, tons more features to able to create some really, really nice looking emails to send your customers. Before we get into any of this, I'm just going to quickly scroll through. We've provided you with some sample content. Looks like we have a footer at the bottom, some other stuff there. I can add my company name, that kind of thing. So actually, I'm just going to dive in here and start changing some stuff. So it looks like we have a sample logo here. I'm going to change this to our Nutshell logo. If you upload files, all of those will sort of be housed. You can share those between templates. I'm going to put in the Nutshell logo, which I've already updated. Let's get rid of a lot of this text. We don't need any of this for now. Some great starting copy, but really we just want to say, hey, first name, we're launching Nutshell Marketing today. It's going to be great. Cool. And of course, like you'd expect, I can select this, maybe change the font. Maybe Lobster looks good. I'm not a designer. I'd like to call that out, but I think I can make this look pretty good. You know what? Let's go with Rubik. I'm feeling Rubik today. Again, I'm going to just quickly replace this. I have 2 different headshots of myself depending on the day. Let's go with this one for now. We'll get Cain here. All right, that's good. Of course, there's different social links built in as well. So I could add my Facebook, my Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn, that kind of thing. I could also pick other social icons if I want, add a custom one, all that good stuff. But we're not going to do that right now. What else do we want to do? Let's talk about what other content we can add to this email. So, one of the most powerful things here is this rows tab on the right here. And this allows me to pick kind of what layout I want my content to be. So this is a pretty standard layout to start off with, but maybe I want a section over here that's a little more complex. So get a couple things here. Maybe I want to add a button to the middle here. Try it out today. Of course, there's 2 call to actions next to each other, but you know what? I was told not to design this email too much. We're just going to go for it. What other content can we get? Let's jump in here. Maybe I want to add an image right here. That looks pretty good. Oh, this is looking really good. Got one of those. That looks pretty good. I want to add another image. Oh, now we're talking. This is starting to look really, really good. A couple other things just want to sort of call out in the editor. Of course, I can change the overall layout of this whole thing. So if I'm talking about the total content area, I can change maybe the width of that. We keep it at a sort of recommended 600 pixel default, but you can make that wider. You can go content to the left if you want a more personal message style. Of course, I can change the background color here. Ooh, that looks terrible. I don't want to do that right now. I can also change my default font, link color, all that good stuff. Just sort of walking through more of these features. We have different line heights here. Of course, there's all sorts of padding options. Maybe I want to bring this one up. Maybe I want to hide this on desktop or mobile. So, for these different grid layouts, maybe I only want some of them to show up if they're in a desktop form factor versus a mobile form factor. And I think that's really nice there. Let's add another big row block here and talk about other types of content we can add. So we already talked about social, images, text, buttons. Maybe you're coming from a different email marketing tool or something else like that, and you want to actually dive in there and you already have your HTML all written. I can just come in here, paste in some HTML. I could change this right now. I don't have any ready to go, but I think that's really cool that just jump in there, add that already ready to go HTML. Maybe you only want that on some sort of mobile content as well there. I think this email is starting to look pretty good. I probably should get Nutshell down here, but I think this is looking like a pretty solid email. We're going to call that good for now. I'm liking the design of this. I could spend a little bit more time on it, but I want to talk about what happens when you're ready to send this thing. So I'm going to pop over to the details tab for that. And right away, I'm going to get an in-app preview of what this looks like. So on desktop, looks like something like that, looking pretty good. I could actually see right away what this looks like on mobile. Awesome, looking pretty good. Might want to knock that image over a little bit for mobile when the padding's a little different. But overall, I like that preview. And then, of course, we're going through the details. So who's this from? I'm going to send this from Chris Unknown. That's strange. I know my last name. That's Cain. We'll talk a second of how you pick your audience. That's the next part of the demo. But I'm going to add a subject, nutshell marketing launch, looking good. The wait is over. That's pretty intense. I like that. And then really quickly, we built in UTM parameters to a lot of these. So if you work with Google or Google Analytics and you want to track some of the stuff outside of Nutshell, of course, we have our own built-in engagement tools as well. If you don't do that or want to use ours alongside it, we have this, and I can edit these parameters. We give you some nice defaults for sort of source and medium and campaign and that kind of thing. And of course, if you want to learn more, we have more in-app onboarding there. So that's where we are here. But I actually am not going to send this edition right now because this broadcast it looks okay, but I actually want to send a real looking one now. So we're going to talk about, I'm ready to send, but I want to talk about audiences. So audiences, I'm going to take a break from this page. Audiences are a segmented list of people that you want to send all your outreach to. So you can have any number of audiences, and unlike normal filter lists that you know in Nutshell, these don't have to match a particular set. Of course, right now I'm just looking at a people list, and actually I compiled this yesterday from a lot of our registrants for this webinar. So thank you very much for registering. And I put this together yesterday. So if you're a late registrant, you might not get this email, and I apologize. But we're looking at just, everyone in here that has the tag first look webinar. And I could come in and I could add a couple people here to our audience. And we have this add to audience button in the bottom here. I've already put together our first look webinar audience. But it's as simple as that, of selecting the different people you want and adding them to that audience. For these purposes, I'm just going to select everyone and re-add them to this first look webinar audience, and boom, we're done. Let's take a look at what this looks like. So we have our first look webinar audience. Again, some very basic, graphs right away of sort of new subscribers. We automatically will manage your unsubscribed. So if you're sending out communication and your customers decide they don't want you to contact them anymore, Nutshell's automatically going to take them off the list. They can still be in this audience and they'll show up in this unsubscribe field over here, but we're not going to make you manually track that, upset your customers that don't want to hear from you for whatever reason. And that's just built in there. And of course, I can quickly jump over to our members list and make sure that looks good. I can see different segments here. So maybe subscribers only, ones without email addresses. I can search and of course use all of the Nutshell filters in this filter drawer to break this down how I want. That's pretty much audiences. All right, we're going to actually send a broadcast. So of course, this is the point in the cooking show where they prep the whole meal and they put it in the oven, and 4 hours later it's ready, but it takes about 30 seconds in real TV time. So that's this first look email. And honestly, this didn't take very long. We think it's pretty easy to just jump in here. This sort of feels like maybe less design is better. We don't have our big ta-da images going on. But this feels like a pretty good email. And you know what? I think it's time to send this. So when you're ready to send it, back to the details tab, make sure this looks pretty good. I can send a test email to myself or someone else, or maybe you have a tool that you like to send it to make sure it looks good in different browsers. You can pull it up on your phone, that kind of thing. But I'm actually just going to send this for real. So I'll go to prepare to send. Oh, looks like I forgot to actually pick the audience. So Nutshell, before you send anything, of course, is going to give you a quick checklist. Make sure you got everything right. In this case, let me go to the details. Let me pick my first look webinar audience. All right, let's see how I'm doing now. All right, got my subject line. It looks pretty good. I have an unsubscribe link. And again, Nutshell's just going to include that in every message so that you don't have to manage those unsubscribes. You don't want to be bothering anyone. We'll handle that for you. Got my mailing address. This looks pretty good. I could schedule this for, maybe tomorrow, a week from now, whatever. But I actually think I want to send this right now. And I'm going to send this to everyone here. So let me make sure one more time this is all good. I got my UTM parameters. All right, you know what? We're going to do it. And off it goes. All right, this is the moment where if we were all sitting in a room, tell you to look under your chair, grab an iPad, be free there. Of course, since we're not, the best I can offer you is an email in your inbox. But hopefully that's there. Check it out. And we are going to move on to part 2 of the demo. So I'm going to quickly stop sharing my screen. Hopefully everyone's doing all right. And we're going to jump over to a different part of Nutshell Marketing. So that's a really quick look into broadcasts and what it looks like to quickly jump in and design an email. There's a lot of other features in that section, but that's your quick overview. I want to talk briefly about newsletters. That's our second item in the left over here next to broadcasts. So think of broadcasts as one-time messages that you want to send to a particular group of people. Maybe that's an announcement. Maybe that's, you have an event coming up and you want to let everyone know to register. Newsletters, on the other hand, are sort of a series of messages, all with similar content to the same audience. So I'm actually looking at Nutshell's Sell to Win audience here. And this is a newsletter that we've been sending from Nutshell since early October. So right away, all the additions are sort of bucketed in the same group. I can actually look at the engagement of those additions and compare them to each other. So, maybe I want to compare the open rates or the click rates, which ones have a higher unsubscribe rate, that kind of thing, all within one sort of bucketed area here. And we think newsletters are an extremely important form of communication, and that's why we put them right at the top of the sidebar. But what does it look like when a message is actually sent? What's the engagement look like? How's that all come together? So right here, I'm on the same sort of UI up here, but now that this is sent, my engagement tab has some actual useful data. And I want to quickly talk through this. So of course, this is our October 2020. We sent 2 in October. I think this is number 1. If you're not already subscribed to the Sell to Win audience or our mailing list, I really recommend that. But we have our messages delivered. We have our open rate, our click rate, who's interacting with these messages, our unsubscribe rate, who doesn't want to hear from us anymore. And then of course our bounce rate. And you want to make sure you keep your bounce rate low, but like unsubscribe in Nutshell Marketing, we'll automatically manage that for you. So if you're sending to an email address that bounces, we're not going to keep sending that same email address. And that'll help with spam and deliverability and all that. So we make that easy for you and we'll manage that in Nutshell. If we come down here, this is an engagement graph of different opens and clicks. So it looks like we sent this around 3:30. And it actually looks like the most engagement was sometime around 5 o'clock. I can probably get an hour view to look at this a little better. Looks like between 4 and 5, there were most opens. Maybe I just want to look at like the first 24 hours. Of course, the engagement's going to tail off as everyone's seen these emails. Maybe you're coming back to read these emails every morning. That's your morning routine. That's personally mine. But in general, that'll probably tail off. And then, of course, we can actually look at the recipients of this email. So again, this is sort of the Nutshell people list that you're used to, but this is just for this particular newsletter. So it was sent to 21,000 people. I can actually just look at who opened it, maybe just look at who clicked, maybe it bounced, and we want to make sure that's not associated with a high value lead, so I can look at that. And actually here, so I pulled up the engagement rating column, and if you're not familiar with the engagement rating column, that's a built-in Nutshell 1 to 5 star rating where we sort of we basically try to take all the engagement in terms of opens, clicks, how many emails are you sending someone, and how much are they engaging with your emails. So this is a really easy way to sort of tie together, is someone actually seeing the content we want them to see? Are they clicking on it? Maybe they're tied to a high value lead that you want to make sure you're contacting, that kind of thing. And of course, we have our filtering, sorting, different columns, bringing all these different columns to this view. And that's sort of what engagement looks like there. All right. I actually am going to take a quick pause and turn it back over to you, Kristen, and see how everyone's doing.
Yeah, holy smokes, what a great. Thank you so much for taking the time to walk us all through that. It looks like the team has been hard at work. We're so thrilled about the new features. There's some great questions in the chat happening. It's so wonderful to hear from all of you. Before we get started, can you talk to us a little bit about pricing and what it's going to cost to get Nutshell Marketing?
Yeah, absolutely. And actually, I'm going to go back to sharing my screen. If we jump back into this and we look on the left side, if we just jump into Nutshell Billing, as of today, there's a new Nutshell Marketing section in Nutshell Billing. And the biggest thing is it's separate from Nutshell Sales. So this is an additional product there, but it's not related to your user count. So if you're paying for 10 users, 20 users, Nutshell Marketing is just an additional cost on top of that, totally related to the number of contacts in your outreach. So We have a built-in slider here. Maybe I have 30,000 contacts, and we tell you how much that's going to be per month. But it's just an additional one-time charge per month, not related to your users.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And I know that we've really only scratched the surface with this email marketing tool. Can you talk a little bit about what you have planned next for its development?
Absolutely. Yeah. And I'll stop sharing my screen so I can see some friendly faces. Yes, a lot is planned for this year for Nutshell Marketing. We talked about different types of outreach in the beginning. We have broadcasts, we have newsletters. The third type of outreach that we're really close on and working on actively is drip sequences. So as an example, drip sequences, you might be hosting a webcast in a week or two, and you want to send a series of messages to everyone that's attending that webcast. If they click on that or they interact or they do something with that, you probably don't want to send them any more outreach. You don't want to bother them. This is just an easy way to send a series of messages and have that automatically go to a certain group of people over time. Other things we're working on, we know that your web form is important on your website. So you might have a website and you're collecting leads that way. It would be great if that would automatically populate in Nutshell and add to your audience that way. If that form was populated by Nutshell, of course, we have tons of tools to work with our API and other ways to get people into Nutshell, but we want Nutshell to be the one powering that form, and we think that's a great integration that way.
That sounds amazing. All right. Thank you so much for the sneak peek. We're all really excited. And Chris, if it's all right with you, I have some amazing questions here from the chat that I would love to ask you if you have a few moments.
Sure thing. Yeah.
Wonderful. All right. So let's see what we've got here. Thank you, everyone, for your participation. It's so great to hear from all of you and get your questions. It's always such a pleasure to connect with you virtually. William wants to know, what's the easiest way to attach something to new email outreach?
Yeah, I assume this is maybe like file attachments or something?
I believe so, yeah.
Cool. Yeah, so that's built in right to our email editor as well. You can actually just go in there. Of course, with mass outreach like this, there's different ways to do that, but the best way is to actually include the attachment as a link, just because, you want to make sure these messages are getting into inboxes and not hitting spam.
Right.
But we have sort of a built-in file manager there. You can include attachments that way. The editor makes it really easy to sort of include that as a link, and the file will be all ready to go that way.
Awesome. And then Dan asked a really interesting question. He said, is there a way to use these slick formatted email templates for individual emails instead of the simple text support there by default?
Yeah, that's a great question. Right now, there is not, but there's nothing stopping you from, creating really, you can have any number of audiences, and we know that these emails look really good. And I've been sending one-offs to, 2 or 3 people because I know these look really good as well. I think that's also touching on what we think of as drip sequences, which are coming soon, which is sort of using these really nice emails in an automated fashion. So maybe a lead comes into the pipeline and I want to immediately send them a welcome email. But that's definitely on the immediate roadmap to integrate this sort of really looking nice emails to individual people that way.
For sure. All right. Yeah, thank you. And then Rocco asking the question on everyone's mind, can you add emojis to the subject line?
Absolutely. Yeah, that is, I should have touched on that in the demo. I am so sorry. That was of course.
Wonderful. All right. More great questions, if I can still steal a little bit of your time, Chris. All right. So Aaron wants to know, does this use Nutshell email servers, or do we require our own SMTP servers?
Yes, this is not using your own SMTP servers, and this is actually one of the big motivations behind Nutshell Marketing. We know when you're using your own SMTP servers, depending on the configuration, you can only send so many emails per day. There's all these hoops that you have to jump through, and even setup is sometimes a pain. This is through Nutshell. Of course, there's a couple things that need configuration, like we require you to verify your email address ahead of time to make sure that you're not sending spam on our behalf. But that is a huge motivation behind sort of bringing a lot of this in-house so that our customers don't have to go through that troublesome process and, make sure they're not sending too many emails per day and all that kind of stuff. Yeah,
definitely. Such a big help. And then Heidi asks a question kind of in the same vein. She says, is the reply to always the same as the email sender?
Yes, great question. Right now, the reply to is always the same. And we're aware that, that might change down the road. You can add a custom reply to. But right now, it's always going to be the same as the sender.
Got it. Okay. That's great. Mitch wants to know about limitations with audiences. Is there a limit on the number of contacts you can have in an audience?
Yeah, right now there is no limit. I think we have an audience of 150,000 people in our personal nutshell, and we've been using this. So there's no limit to the number of contacts in your audience.
Yeah. Okay, that's great to know. All right, Anthony Alexander asks, does adding people to audience auto-filter duplicates?
Yes, that's a great question. We will auto-filter duplicates based on email address. That's right. And the one caveat to that is you can actually, and I think of this as a feature, you can add people without email addresses to audiences. You might get a list of contacts and might not have all their information, but you just want to get them into an audience and fill that out later. So we're not going to dedupe by name, but we're going to do our best to dedupe by audience or by email address. And then similarly, we're only going to send one email out to each email address there. So we'll sort of let you know if there's any duplicates or something arises, if email address changes when they're in the audience or something like that. You're never going to send more messages to, you're never going to double send to someone is really the important part there.
That makes perfect sense. Thank you. All right. Dan wants to know, will unsubscribes also be removed from companies or people, or just that specific audience for email marketing? It's a great question, Dan.
Yeah, that is a great question. So unsubscribes are a little involved. There's basically two ways that your audience members can unsubscribe. So they can choose to unsubscribe from all communication. And we have a sort of unsubscribe page in a nutshell that you'll be able to see. They can unsubscribe from all communication, or they can decide, I just want to unsubscribe from potentially like the Sell to Win newsletter. And they'll have that option. And if they choose that, it'll just be from that audience. If they choose, I want to unsubscribe from everything, that'll show up on their person page in nutshell that, hey, you're not going to send them any more communication. Yeah. Just want to call out too that if you've been managing unsubscribes already in nutshell yourself, maybe manually through a tag or some sort of company type, we've made it really easy. You can just go to the people list, find those people, filter by tag, and just unsubscribe them from their audiences, or from all outreach, for nutshell marketing before you get started. So we realize that our customers have been doing this sort of, in different ways, and we want to sort of build that into the tool now and make that easy.
So supportive. Yeah, great. We do have a question from Phil, and we were just talking about having people in multiple audiences. He just wanted to make sure that we could do that. Could you paint a picture for us of why someone might need to be in multiple audiences? Yeah,
absolutely. So, I'll use our own use case. We have a Sell to Win audience, which of course, all of our information is in nutshell, and anyone on that mailing list is in the Sell to Win audience. And then we have our total list of all of our customers, and we might want to send some communication to our customers, some to Sell to Win, and of course, there's going to be a ton of overlap there. So, you can have the same person in 50 different audiences. There's no limitation to that.
Awesome. Yeah, get emailing everybody. All right. Heidi asks another great question. Thank you, Heidi. She says, can you send a test to yourself?
Yes, you can. So I probably should have pulled up the test, but right away, we'll just give you an easy drop down of all the different users in your nutshell instance, but you can just type in any old email address there as well. So there's no limitations there. That's my favorite workflow, is just sending a test to myself, pulling it up on my phone, making sure it looks good, that kind of thing.
Yeah, for sure. All right. Ryan asks a pretty technical question. He wants to know, are we able to use our own sender IP address or pool to better manage the deliverability of our nutshell broadcasts?
That's a great question. We have different ways, without getting into too many specifics. We have different ways to work with your different settings there. Yes. Right now, that's still a little bit of a manual process, and I definitely recommend reaching out to support. But we'll work with you on making sure that yes, your emails are ending up not in spam folders and getting to inboxes and all sorts of different reasons for that. But the short answer is yes.
Yeah. Okay. That's great. Thank you. All right. Michael. Oh, hey, Michael. Good to see you in the audience today. Michael wants to know, is there a way to restrict a user's access only to nutshell marketing and not the entire CRM? He says, we outsource our marketing work, and MailChimp allows us to avoid contractors accessing the CRM.
Ooh, that's a great question. Right now, there's not. So we did build it in such a way that you can restrict access to nutshell marketing for different users, but not the other way around. And I can't promise that we'll ever bring that to Nutshell. Again, we really think these tools work well together. Totally understand the use case, but that wasn't a focus for us to sort of switch it the other way around.
Yeah, for sure. And Michael, if you're ever curious to learn a little bit more about how we can restrict data visibility in the CRM based on teams, we're more than happy to help with that. All right, so Sydney wants to know, oh, and we kind of covered this earlier, but just to refresh our memories, Chris, is pricing based on contacts in the CRM or the amount we want to send to?
Yeah, great question. If you decide to sign up for Nutshell Marketing, it's based on the number of contacts you have in your CRM. And there's a couple things in there. That's contacts that have an email address, have not unsubscribed, that kind of thing. That being said, Nutshell Marketing is free to use for everyone, but we only give you 150 messages per month. So you can sort of kick the tires, make sure everything's looking good. But in terms of actual pricing, that's always going to be based on the number of contacts in the CRM.
Yeah, for sure. And then Chris asks a question about GDPR compliance, and that he wants to know, can the system limit the audience members we email to only people who have opted in?
Ooh, that's a great question. I'm not sure of the answer off the top of my head. I'm sorry. I don't have the GDPR specifics on what actually an opt-in means, and that's something that I hope we address in our knowledge base. We might already, but that's absolutely something that, yes, we'll get you the answer to that, Chris.
Yeah, for sure. And I should have mentioned earlier, for those of you curious about learning more, the question mark in the left-hand sidebar of your Nutshell account has a new, we got a new exciting feature update there. You'll be able to access all of the articles explaining email marketing and learn more. But Chris, what I would recommend would just be to unsubscribe those users. You won't be able to resubscribe them ever again in the future. They won't be able to receive your email marketing. So that's more to come on that, though, for sure. That's
a great point. Let me just quickly jump in. I'm sorry, Kristen. I just want to call out exactly what you said. So, by the way, our dashboard looks like it's updated. We have a 50% open rate. That looks pretty good. Hopefully only 50% of everyone in this webinar actually attended or that signed up. And then this is what you were talking about here. So we have our Nutshell Marketing section down here. And if I jump to that, it's going to open in a new tab, of course, so you can't see it. But there's some great content there. So that's where to go.
Awesome. Really good stuff. All right, I think we have time for one more question. Shimlane wants to know how complex we're looking at segmenting drip flows based on triggers or lead custom fields. I guess, what have you and the team been talking about in terms of pipeline automation?
Yeah, I love that question. And I really meant to call this out earlier. So we're in the middle of, trying to figure out how drip sequences are going to best work for our customers, and would really love to hear from everyone on sort of what they expect. So of course, yes, it would be awesome if we could segment by custom field. Maybe a new lead comes in the pipeline and we have some win back campaign if it's closed and we want to create another lead. I think there's so many great things that Nutshell Marketing can do with sales automation and all of our segmentation tools that are already there. Please drop us a line, either if that's at support@nutshell.com. We also have a beta@nutshell.com that's sort of right there on that drip sequences page. Would love to hear about use cases that support your business, and we want to make sure that works for you too. So great question.
For sure. Yeah, the questions have been amazing today. Chris is a busy guy. We're going to have to let him go here. That's all the time we have. But thank you so much, Chris. It's been such a pleasure learning a little bit more about this.
Yeah, thank you so much, Kristen. And thank you to everyone. This has been fun.
For sure. For those of us joining today, we really encourage you to test out Nutshell Marketing for yourselves. You can do that by hitting the broadcast or the megaphone icon in the sidebar of the Nutshell app just to get started. Remember, you can start building and testing marketing emails completely free of charge. So if you have any other questions about Nutshell Marketing that we didn't get to today, just hit the question mark icon near the bottom of the sidebar to learn more on our Help Center, like I mentioned, or just send us an email at support@nutshell.com. Until next time, thank you for watching and happy nutshelling.